Oh boy, am I glad that I paid that guy to teach me how to use my raid rotation. I'm a freaking beast.
Dude, what the fuck, man? One heal? What are you doing?
I don't know.
What's going on, everybody? It is Nifuji here with another World of Warcraft healing video. Today I'm going to make a pretty clear and concise video on how to improve as a raid healer. Now, I originally made this video, it went way too long, and I realized a lot of this stuff is not relevant. The first thing I want to talk about is if you want to improve as a healer, you need to play the game. However, once you understand your class, your spec, you really understand how your abilities are working, the next step to improvement is what I'm going to show you today, and that is Warcraft logs and WoW Analyzer. And before you click away because you don't like numbers, it is really simple. This is what I've been using the last couple months to really improve and get better on my front. And I'm going to kind of go over that in a little bit, but I really just want to show you how I break down these logs, how I break down WoW Analyzer, and what I do to identify the mistakes I'm making and how I can improve them. So for today's example, I'm going to take our guild's Mythic Smolderon kill from this week. As you can see, I feel like I did pretty okay. I did 482k HPS. Don't let the rank fool you or the parse. Not a lot of people killed Mythic Smolderon, and some people in my raid died, and it was a good pull for me. So I'm not claiming to be some god, but I'm just going with the pull I'm happy with to show that even if you do good, there's still stuff you can break down and improve. So the first step in improving is comparing yourself to somebody better than you. Yep, I said it. There's always someone better than you, and you need to compare yourself to them. So here's what we're going to do. What you're going to want to do is find the fight that you thought you either did really well on or a fight you know you could have done better on, and you're going to pull it up. You're going to click on yourself. You're going to be able to see your healing now. Now, we don't actually care too much about this. You can look into this to kind of get a better breakdown of how much healing you did. What I want to look at instead, specifically for Resto Druid, and again, this might be a tab you use more on heavy non-ramp healers like Shaman, but I always go to Cass, and then what you're going to want to do now is pull up another tab, and you're going to go to Raids, Rankings for whatever boss. I already went to Smolderon, and then you're going to sort it by healing, and then you're going to go to whatever healer you are, right? So Resto. So what is this showing us? Right now we are seeing just the best healing parses for Mythic Smolderon. One more thing before we pick someone to compare ourselves to is you need to try and find a pull that is as similar to yours as possible. So I get no externals as a Resto Druid. I'm the only Druid in my group, so I don't get any extra innervates. The only other thing I'm getting is Source of Magic, which is whatever, right? So for me personally, I'm going to go to this tab and click Exclude External Buffs. But if you're a healer and you're getting, a couple different innervates or something like that, you want to leave it on so that you can get a better comparison. So as you can see, I have the number 5 pull for this at the moment. I'm still going to compare myself to someone better because I knew immediately when that fight ended I could have done stuff better. So I'm going to compare myself to Zuckles here. So we're going to pull up Zuckles. And then the first thing you're going to want to do is compare the healing comp. So I had a 4 heal comp for the boss. So did Zuckles group. Perfect. So I'm going to click on Zuckles. I'm going to go to Cast. And now I'm going to break this tab down. And I'm going to compare it to mine. So what do we have? So I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm just going to compare it one by one. My rejuves, I casted 224, he casted 221, right? So I casted a couple more. Now we go to regrowth. He casted 2 more than me. Okay, good to know. I did a lot of wraths. Wild growth, I did 25 to his 15, so maybe I was overcasting that unnecessarily and wasting mana. Life blooms, he casted more. So this is what you want to do, right? You want to go through with the spells that you know are important for your class and compare them. So you can see all the different casts. These, maybe not so much, unless you're looking at big cooldowns like, hey, I got to trank twice, and this guy got to trank twice as well, or whatever, right? If you see that maybe for a big cooldown you used it once, but someone else used it 3 times, that might be a big point of like, yo, I could be using this huge cooldown more. So this is what I start with. I always compare casts. And what is that going to enable us to do? It's going to let us see if we are spam casting too much. It's going to let us see if we are casting way too little. And it is going to give you a better breakdown of that. The other thing I like to check, and this might be different, is I always go to resources, and then I'm going to go from hit points to mana, so I can get my mana graph. I'm going to pull it up on our friends as well, because I like to get an idea how other people are doing with their mana, because I know for druids specifically, they have bad mana issues. So this is a cool thing you can check. So as you can see, I had a pretty steady downward curve. I know that I used a mana pot here, and then I kind of had a back and forth curve down to here where we struggled a bit, and then I was kind of right in the low mana for the end. Our friend here looks like he hit rock bottom around, basically around the same time I did. Yeah, and they killed the boss a little earlier, so that's fine. But you can kind of see our graphs look the same. So down, then up. I kind of stayed stagnant. Down, spike from a mana pot. He did the same as well. So this is just good information to have. So that is something you can check as well. And that's how I use Warcraft logs. There's a little other things you can do there as well, comparing yourself to other people. But really, I just like to find a pull that is similar to my team's comp, compare casts to see, get at least a starter idea of what I could do better. Now, if you want a more detailed breakdown, which I do, you need to copy your log. We're going to go to WoW Analyzer now. If you've never seen WoW Analyzer, this tool rocks. I'm going to give you a warning. There is some niche things in here, like if you have assigned healing cooldowns, WoW Analyzer is going to tell you have bad throughput on those spells. You can ignore it, or if it seems really bad, you can dig into that and see, hey, maybe I should be casting this more by going back on Warcraft logs and comparing yourself. But what you want to do when you pull up WoW Analyzer is throw your log in there, and then it is going to pull me up, and then as long as your class is supported, you get a super detailed breakdown. If your class is not supported, you'll still get a breakdown, it just won't be as detailed. Again, I'm not going to dig into this too much because it's not supposed to be just a Resto Druid video. You'll get something comparable to this depending on your specs, so I'm going to kind of quickly fly through it. Starting at the top, we have core spells, which is kind of like your core healing rotation, if you will. So for Druid, at least, it's Rejuve, so I can see the majority of my Rejuve casts were good. I had a couple that were high overheal. That indicates, at least for me, that, hey, I was probably ramping when I didn't need to, or I ramped too late when people were already getting healed. And then I had 3 bad casts, which means, hey, I need to be really careful of not overhealing, or sorry, of not recasting on people and clipping their cooldown. It looks like my wild growth casts were good. Most of my regrowth casts were good. Here we go. This is something that's pretty massive for Life Bloom and this. These are supposed to be, as close to 100% uptime as possible. As you can see, I clearly have some room for improvement there, and this is even worse for me. So this is actually a really big thing for me, even though I did pretty well. My Swift Men procs, I can see that I could probably use them a little bit better when people are lower health. My Grove Guardians were good. Soul of the Forest is decent. I could definitely improve there. And then after your core abilities, we're going to get to our healing cooldowns. And again, this will show you just straight up, if you're supposed to be using certain things a certain way, this would all be red. If I just straight up was spam casting regrowth, it would all be red. So you get a lot of details here. Going into healing cooldowns, this is what I was just talking about a second ago with you can see your throughput. So 90%, 7 out of 8 flourish uses, which is pretty good. I had it on cooldown for 90% of the fight. I just, potentially could have squeezed in one more. Not that big of a deal. Tree of Life, as you can see, I had it available for a pretty long time here. I'm pretty sure I was holding it on purpose. And then at the start of the fight, I didn't really need it yet. So again, 72, not the best. This is kind of telling me I could have used this way earlier and fit in another one kind of in this middle area. But again, we have our healing cooldown set up in a way where I'm not parse godding. Someone else is using cooldowns in this area. Trank, this might be a big one. I would say if you have a 3-minute cooldown that's approaching a 50% uptime cast, that might be worth a conversation about moving it around so you can fit in another one. For me, I could basically, like if I move this towards like the start of the pool, I could basically fit in another Trank in the middle, and then this one would be pushed back a bit. So that's pretty important, and then I have 100% usage on my Innervate, which is awesome. So obviously compare that to how your abilities look. If you're seeing here like, yo, what the heck, I'm only casting, Ascendance one time, what's that about? Maybe go compare your logs to some other in Warcraft logs and get a better idea of what the average looks like. Another good resource for that is Lorgs, except for that's only going to show you like the top 50 beast mode parses, so don't look into that too much. After that, you're going to get spell breakdowns. This is very different depending on the class you're playing, so I'm not going to go into it too much, but specifically for Druid, it's all going to be based off our ramps. So these 3 X's you're seeing are me being a big stinky dum-dum and not using an important heal wild growth before this was active and while this was active. Another thing it's going to show you if your enchants are up to date. As you can see, I got a ring that week and I forgot to enchant it, so that was a fun reminder. But yeah, this owns. Like, this tells you everything you needed to improve on. You can pull up your statistics page if you want to and kind of get a really crazy looking breakdown here. So you can see I had a pretty high active time, probably could be a little better. This could definitely be better. This could be better. This could be better. Like, you can really get a really detailed breakdown. I had 1 bad cast, kind of tragic. You can see all these different things as well. 9 average abundance stacks. So like this is a cool page to go on as well. If you want, you can go to the timeline. This is kind of hard to read, so that's up to you if you want to use this. I kind of prefer the Warcraft logs one, but that's up to you. There's all these different tabs, right? It is telling you everything. This is telling me when I innervated at from 5 to 13 seconds, this is what I casted. So as you can see, I missed the Wild Growth cast by like the last second. So you're seeing everything that you're getting on. So like this was a good flourish. This was alright. Mediocre. I literally used Moonkin form in my flourish window. Like, so you can get really in-depth breakdowns, and this is what I use to improve. So I went from, you know, pretty bad healing in the past expansions, and I feel like I'm doing pretty alright now, and I'm constantly looking at this. I look at this after every raid night. If there's a fight I know I did bad on, I pull it up immediately and see what I can improve on. So I would highly, highly recommend, if you're looking to take your healing and raid to the next level, to utilize these tools. It's weird, but it's a lot of self-analysis, and if you can look at yourself objectively and be like, I know I'm not perfect, how can I do better? And you look at this stuff, you will skyrocket in terms of your improvement. So hopefully that was helpful. I know that like obviously Warcraft logs and WoW Analyzer isn't like some new tool, but I genuinely don't think people use this. A lot of people just assume like, hey, I'm playing to the best of my ability, so I don't know why I'm not healing a lot. If you ever feel that way, this is the website you need to pull up on. If you ever think, hey, I feel like I'm using all my buttons right, I don't know why my HPS is so low when it should be higher, pull up this website. It'll tell you right away. You'll probably scroll down right here and be like, oh, I'm only using something 30% of the fight. No wonder. Little reminders like that go a long way. So again, hopefully this was helpful. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them below. I'm going to have some Mythic Resto Druid POV um, Vault of the Incarnates gameplay drop in next week for you guys to kind of get an eye on some voiceovers on that. So yeah, again, hopefully this was helpful, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.